Susan K. Hi. All right. Welcome. My name is Cheryl, or Dr. Cheryl. You can call me Cheryl. So this is a talk I host. We talk every Tuesday at noon called Navigating Aging on all kind of different topics about aging well and whatever else you want to talk about. It's a wonderful place for community as well. So today's topic is our bucket list and the importance of completion. So we'll start off with just bringing our hearts together and calling in the light, which is, we'll call in the light and then chant 3 Anai Hughes. Anai is a way to invoke empathy and compassion, and Hugh is an ancient name for God. Anybody want to call us forward into the light today?
Well,
nice. Thank you.
Father, Mother, God, we now step forward into your love, your light and grace. We ask to be filled, surrounded, and protected with your loving and light. And we ask that your light go around the planet, touching all and touching them in a way that they will recognize your love. As always, we're so very grateful to be of service. We're very grateful for this wonderful talk that Dr. Cheryl does every week. And we send blessings to everyone. And so it is.
So it is.
Anai.
So nice to be with you. Thanks for showing up today. Okay, so today I want to talk about what has been referred to as our bucket list. Is everybody familiar with that term? Okay, so it's often referred to just, especially, I hear it mostly like as people get older and they talk about, well, that's on my bucket list. Maybe it's a trip. Maybe it's a completion or clarification with a relationship. But it's something that is undone, but someone would like to do it in this lifetime. It could represent an aspiration, maybe an adventure, something to accomplish. And so I'm curious, what you may either think of that concept of bucket list. Do you have something on your bucket list? Are there things that you think, this is on my bucket list, but I don't think there's any way to complete it? I have a couple quotes, or 3 quotes here I'd like to read from John Roger first as we get started. So JR, rather than focusing on lack or the what might be better, why not start being grateful for what you've got? Here's a little exercise you can do on your own. Make a list of the people, things, and qualities in your life for which you are grateful. It might surprise you all of the abundance you have in your life. And second, if you want to complete things with your mother, call her. If that can't be done, take some quiet moments, see her in front of you, and tell her whatever you need to bring something incomplete into completion. Trust me, she'll get the message. As you talk to her or others outwardly or inwardly in this world or in the world of spirit, you will bring balance and completion to yourself. And lastly, have you ever set a goal for yourself only to find yourself falling short of it? Maybe you have come very close, but haven't reached into the success of completion. Use the theater of the mind to envision your success, your accomplishment, completion, achievement. If you create this vision strongly enough, it will happen for you. Even when a part of you seems to give up, consciously or otherwise, there is another part that will hold the vision. Then perhaps you will at least expect it. Then perhaps when you least expect it, you will suddenly have accomplished your goal. All right. So my I'll say best, my most it's interesting. I don't know exactly the word. I was going to say best example, but I think the times that I've talked about bucket list most is when I was a hospice social worker. So hospice is typically when someone has 6 months or left to live. And so as a social worker, I would go into clients' homes where they'd be home on hospice and be with them and their families in this process, coach them, counsel them, listen to them. And I would talk to them about, like, is there anything that you have is on your list that you always wanted to do? And I especially found this important when someone seemed to be kind of hanging on, like all accounts, like maybe they should have passed by now, but they're just like hanging on for some reason. And so I would talk to them, or I'd encourage the family to talk to the person, like, is there anything left that you want to do? Anything that anyone you need to talk to? And so try to make those things happen so the person can bring their life to completion. And John Roger talked a lot about completion and the importance of not having incompletes. So call things complete. It could be the books you're reading. Like you'd say, if you have like 3 books that you're in the middle of and you have your energy split, just look at the books or page through them real quick and just call it complete. When I worked on staff with Now Productions, there were 2 different times that John Roger would have the whole MSIA staff do. It was just on our own. It was like it was funny. It was like when email was first out. He'd send an email and he'd say, "Okay, I want you guys to go through your like undone list and just write everything out." So it was just important to whatever that was. Like I've always wanted to date, Billy, but never happened. I have this book that I've always wanted to read. I've had a trip that I've always wanted to make. Or I feel unclear with my mother about a certain situation. Anything. And he'd have us all write it down. He wouldn't do a second step to that. And I don't remember him ever following up with it, but it was important enough that he had the whole staff go through and it just felt like we were all kind of clearing our consciousness and working to be present. There are 2 examples from when I was working with hospice that I'll share with you, 2 stories. There was one woman, she was probably about 85, and she had 2 adult daughters. And she was one of these people that were just it just felt like she was kind of hanging on. And she was kind of irritable, like frustrated. And I was talking to her about what was going on. And she said, I always felt bad that I didn't graduate high school. She raised her daughters, and it was important for her daughters to graduate high school, but she felt like it was kind of a shameful thing, and that she didn't feel proud. She wanted her daughters to be proud of herself and be proud of her and be proud of herself. And so I was going through uh, my doctoral program at the time, and so I said, well, I can um, teach in higher education, and if you want to, like, we could help you graduate from high school based on your life experience. And she's like, are you serious? I'm like, yeah, we could totally do that. So over the next week, we talked about all her life experience. And boy, she had a full life of interesting things that she did. And so at the end of that week, I printed out a certificate that said you graduate high school. And I had a graduation tassel and outfit from my master's program. So I brought that over, and I brought the certificate, and the two of us had this little ceremony. And so she actually graduated high school, and she was just beaming. She was just so happy. And it didn't really matter that it wasn't like, oh, which high school did you go to? Like all the details, it just didn't really matter. But what mattered was her feeling complete with it, and her owning her life experience and what she did, and her all the things she did with her motherhood and all that. So, and then I put a picture of her, uh, printed out a picture and put it in a frame and put it on her dresser with the certificate. And so when her daughters came, they saw it and they talked to her about it. And she passed away about a week later. So it was really a cool example of the power of completion and offering her that. And then the second story from hospice was, so one of my clients was a couple, and the gentleman was a truck driver. And I was talking to him, what's on your bucket list? What you always wanted to do? And he said, I've always wanted to go to the Grand Canyon. They live kind of in a poor area of town. They had kids, and he said, I had the route that was from California to Arizona, and my stop was right before that, like the last stop before you get to the Grand Canyon. But I never had the money or the time to go to the Grand Canyon. So I'm like, okay, now this guy's already on oxygen and not moving too fast. It turned out he was within a month at the end of his life. So I talked to him, and I said, look, if you want to go, I can help make that happen. To me, I love these kind of things. So I'm like, look, if you want to go. And then we talked to the three of them, him and his wife. And I was like, look, because they're like, we have no money, we can't do this. I'm like, look, well, let's forget about the money. If you want to go, and the important thing to think about is, would you want to go so bad that you would be willing to die trying? Because there was a possibility that would happen. So, and he was dying of cancer and was on oxygen. So, and he was in bed most of the time. So he said, yes, I want to go that bad that I would rather die trying. So I started being creative, and I got in touch with the Grand Canyon Railroad that has a train, like from the last train stop, like Amtrak goes there, and then from the last track, and they have a hotel there, and then the train takes you to the Grand Canyon. And they offered me free tickets for three people, him and his wife and a caregiver, to go on that trip. So then I talked to Amtrak, and they offered a free tickets for them to go from their house to the railroad that would pick up for the Grand Canyon. We set up oxygen along the way. We set up all these details so that they can go. And indeed, they went. He got to go to the Grand Canyon. He came back alive, which was a bonus. And then he passed away probably like 3 weeks later. And he was just so happy. And the family was so happy because they always wanted him to go also. So it can be, big stories like that at the end of your life. But it also could be, since my experience with hospice, I am aware that I never know how long I'm going to have. So I try to keep updated with my bucket list. and think like, if this is something that I really want to do, just do it sooner than later. I really don't wait. And I also, my family can attest to this, but someone would be like, well, I want to do that, you know, down the line. And inside of me, I just like, nope, if you want to do it, we're going to be doing it now, or we're going to be doing it soon. So it's just a way that I live, and I try to stay current, stay up to date. But also it's clarifying, because sometimes I'll think, oh, I really want to do that. And then I'll say, okay, let's go do that. But then if I don't really want to do that, there'll be this different kind of experience inside her voice. It'll be like, well, I don't have the time, or I don't have the money, or whatever the reason is. And then if I go underneath those reasons, there's usually something else going on that it's either maybe not clear to do that thing, or maybe that thing is not what I want, but maybe it's the experience. Like if I go, I really want to go to Hawaii, and then like, well, I don't really have the time right now, or maybe I don't want to spend my money that way. Then I start thinking, okay, what experience am I looking for? You know, those of us who have done insight, that's a big thing with insight. Like, what do you want? What experience you're looking for? So then I could think, you know what, really what I want is, I want what Hawaii represents to me is a sense of freedom and fun. And so I can create that wherever I'm at. So then I go for the experience. And then I think, well, I Hawaii could be fun sometime if I get there again, but if I died and didn't go to Hawaii again, I would be totally fine. So there's that. And then there are other things, like for us, it was important we had this, like, we want to take our daughter to Europe for the first time, instead of her like graduating and going with some other friends. So that was sort of like, oh, we really want that experience. And then COVID hit, and so we didn't really have time to do that. So last summer, we got the opportunity to take our daughter to Europe. And so it was super fun. And after we got back, there was just this, I wouldn't say, it's not exactly like a cloud lifted. It was just like this freedom of like, oh, we did that. And we're done. You know, I'm done with that. I can take that off my list. So I find that often that completion of finishing things that are important feels so good. And I had that same feeling a few years ago. I felt this shift in parenting. So Mackenzie was about 13, and I felt like something shifted, and I heard this voice like, if I died now, I feel complete with what I wanted to offer her, as far as like talking to her, or wisdom, or whatever it is. I felt like as a mother, I wanted to offer her. And I just felt complete. And so now it's just all bonus time. Um, and with that, I tried to like not need to give her so much advice anymore. Like, okay, she can learn on her own. So anyway, so that there's this like energy that shifts in my experience when we are complete with things. We take that off our bucket list. So that's what I wanted to share with you, and I would love to hear your experience. Do you have anything on your bucket list? Or anything you want to share about that? If you want to share, just raise your hand or talk right out there. Okay.
Well, first of all, love and light to all of us. And thank you once again, Dr. Cheryl, for your magnificent wisdom, your experience. And I like to call it an expansion list. It just, to me, expands me more. When I think of bucket lists, I think of,
Yeah.
picking the bucket. So I'm just going to use the word expansion list or completion list. But three things is, I didn't last time talk, if we could all send the light to a beautiful minister in the movement, Sarah Namias, who had a birthday and in March, and I think she's 94. And I'm sure you all remember Sarah's meditation. That's just so iconic. And she's in assisted living in Ventura. So one of my completions, I won't call it a bucket list, is to make sure that she can somehow tune into the conference events, and she can't use her computer. So if we could just hold that image so she can feel part of that ministerial energy and the love and light of conference of celebration. So we can celebrate her by envisioning that. And I know I can make that happen. So light to that. And secondly, I would like to put in the light just going to Turkey. In 2019, I put down a deposit to go with John Morton and Lee Taylor Young to Turkey. And because of COVID and many other things, that trip didn't happen. And I knew it wasn't going to happen way before. So John told us today that they want to go to Turkey in 2026. So I don't know energetically in terms of my health. And it's really, for me, challenging to travel with a traveler. I don't sleep. It's like, I don't quite have that energetic that I used to when I was younger, but that would be part of my completion expansion list. So thanks to all of you. Just love you all. Thank you.
All right. Yeah, it's a great opportunity for us to send light to each other's completion list. And I love that terminology, the expansion or completion list. It's a great reframe. Yeah, thanks. And the other thing, Kay, you might consider we could contact Heartfelt to see if there's any way, if you need support for Sarah or making that happen. Maybe there's a person in the area. So I'd be happy to talk to you more about that if you want. Yeah, that sounds wonderful. Hey, Peggy. You're on mute.
Okay.
There you go. All right.
So, hi, everybody. So, Kay, I just wanted to say if there's, I don't know the particulars about why Sarah can't use her computer, but I am very willing to help. And so, do you want to take down my phone number?
Hey, Peggy, this is gonna be recorded and put up on YouTube. So I'd rather not share your phone number here. But let's yeah, you can also contact me, or you can say serve@heartfelt.org. That'd be better. Always keep that.
All right. So in terms of a bucket list, I have two things, and it's funny because I've been thinking of this lately. My first thing is I'd love to go zip lining, and zip lining in a really deep, like cavern or, through the forest. I've always wanted to do that. So that's on my bucket list. And the second thing is I've always wanted to, I have lots of photographs of beautiful flowers and roses that I've taken. And I've always had this vision of creating some type of what I would call a greeting card with the picture of the flower on the front. And then this is the second part of it is I'd love to do this electronically so people around the world could experience, beauty as I see it. So I thought, well, to make the card and then to have a series of sayings, that you could put within the card or on front of the card. So those are my two things. And then I just want to say if any of you have not seen the movie, The Bucket List, it's really pretty amazing at a very deep heart level. So that's all.
That's awesome. Thank you, Peggy. Nancy.
I appreciate what the topic is, actually. And sitting here thinking about bucket list, I would include in my bucket list the advertisement for those small ships that go up and down the European rivers. And you know, you kind of live on the ship and uh, pilot it yourself majestically through the European countryside. That to me would be a lovely thing. But the main thing that I was thinking that occurred to me as you were talking about bucket list was I have a list of several people with whom I've either had hard feelings or some kind of judgment. And the list is getting smaller, I am happy to say, but that list is definitely in my bucket list because I would like, certainly, it's more than I would like. I am determined to forgive myself for judging and whatever else I need to tell myself and let it go and relax in relation to the people in my life. That's the main thing in my bucket list. And it would be nice to sail a river in Europe, especially one in Scotland, especially going from one Scottish loch to another. That'd be primo.
Hmm.
Anyway, God bless us all, and it's a good topic.
Thank you. I think you bring something up really great, and we can practice just how fast it can happen if we just take 30 seconds and just do the exercise of I forgive myself for judging myself for, and whatever that is. Like maybe it's you judge Sally, you have a hard time with Sally right now. I just forgive myself for judging Sally, fill in the blank. Forgive myself for forgetting I'm divine, or whatever whoever might be on your internal list of people you're not clear with or that you would like to be easier with inside. I have to be willing to just let that all go. Put it in the chalice and send it off to the nothingness from which it came. Fill it with gratitude. All right. We're all more expanded. It's that easy. We're making it up, right? We're making it all up. We're making
That's
up
right.
who we hold against us with or what we want to do or not do. So if we're making it up, we can change our rules. Freedom. All right. Hi, Susan. Nice to see you.
Hi. It's been a long time since I've been with the group because I've never been home at this time. And I'm such delight to realize, of course, I could join you all today, which is really very special. And as people were talking about their bucket list, I thought, I don't really have any bucket lists. The things I don't like to leave. I live in Whidbey Island. I don't like to leave the island very much. But then I thought about, and I've been so busy. I'm facilitating this 10-week course on aging mastery here in Langley, and it's been really fun to put that all together, but a lot of work. So I'm exhausted from all that. So I tried to think about, like, what would I want beyond this? Because I'm going to stop doing all of these kind of things in July, and I'm no more facilitating and organizing and all that kind of stuff. I'm done. And I've loved it, and it's been great, but I'm ready to do something different. So I thought, well, I want to move, and that's kind of in the waiting to hear if that's going to happen. But then I started looking at my list that I keep every day of all the things, and I have at the top the things that one of these days going to get to these things, and one of them is finishing all my steps for end of life preparation, which I haven't done yet. So oh yeah, I got to get that. And then I saw earlier than that, I thought, oh, wait a minute, I've got all these boxes of pictures and letters and stuff of all family stuff. And I want to organize those. And then I had started writing a history of our family. And my mother's side, my father's side. And I thought, oh, I got started on that. I'm going to complete that. Yes. So I'm very excited about thinking about that. And I thank you for being here, all of you. And I'm delighted to be here and joining you today.
That's great. Did you say you're facilitating a class on aging mastery?
Yes, it's there's an aging mastery program that's nationwide, and Washington has put down a lot of these, and this is the first time we've brought it here to Whidbey Island. So I've got 13 students, 12 women and one man named Romeo, and we have been meeting now for 4 weeks, and so 6 more weeks to go. And we have various topics, and topics have been selected by Aging Mastery Program, that everybody uses those topics. And then we invite presenters, people who are in that field, to come in and talk. So it's been really wonderful so far, and people have just loved it. And so then from there you develop, I'm struggling with remembering things because I'm so tired much of the time. But anyway, whatever goes on, a group that continues to meet, whatever they call that. So.
Yeah, an ongoing group meeting.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. Someone said recently, like, oh, if I just forget a word, I just, like pretend I was looking for that other word,
right,
right. It's like whatever. That. Yeah. Yeah. It's an ongoing group meeting. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been
that sounds really nice. That's really cool.
I'm very happy with it. So
yeah, that's great. What a blessing it sounds like for you and the group.
Yeah, it's been great.
Nice. It's really nice for you that you can be here with us today.
Delighted.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anyone else want to share?
I'll share.
Excellent.
So I'm aware that I'm not sure if this is on my bucket list, but maybe a completion list. I really want to see us get our kid through college. Like, I don't know, it feels like we've already gotten her as far as she needs to go, and now she could totally do whatever she needs to do without us. I really feel that way, but I also feel like that's like the one other thing I really want to do. But then I also want to be a grandmother. So am I asking for too much? I think that would be a fun adventure. And I'm also aware that if that doesn't happen, it's okay with me. But these are just sort of, maybe it's my desire list. And Nancy, I just was sitting here on my phone looking up trips through the Scottish Highlands on a cruise ship. So maybe instead of a concert, we'll do that. Anyway, that's what I've got on my mind today. Love everybody.
It's like a rolling bucket list. Hi, Susan.
Hello, everybody. Well, as I've been listening, I've realized that I've never had a bucket list, and really I've never wanted one because it seems like it would be complicating my life. And if I set goals, unachievable goals, then I don't want that. So I'm very happy in the moment, and I've had a lot of great experiences in my life, and I'm in my 80s now, and I've done all my traveling and marriages, and I'm good. So now I just love gardening. I love taking care of my animals. I don't mind living alone most of the time. And I guess if I did have one, it would be Swedish death cleaning. I think we know that term. And so I've been gradually doing that so that my stepdaughters, who are going to be cleaning out my house when I kick the bucket, then they won't have so much work to do. But we've accumulated a lot here, and it's kind of a big job. So I guess that is something that is weighing on me a bit, because it seems a little overwhelming right now. And they go, "Oh, don't worry about it. We'll take care of it." But it's there, you know. Okay, I guess I'm done.
Thank you. That is interesting, that it is our own rules that we have these things on our minds. Some people think, oh, I have to have all my end of life documents organized and go through all my things and either give them away or make notes about who gets what, and all that's really important. And then other people do not have any of that done, and they're fine with it. They seem fine with it. You know, they just leave it all to their kids or whoever is going to be handling it. And it's interesting to, like, when it's me that's so different than someone else in handling something, it's just like, wow, how could you do that? And but then offering myself like, oh, I guess there's a big freedom in that. Because I'm the one making the rule that I need to do it, and then I can change that rule. But then sometimes it comes down to what are our personal values. Hey, one thing that's important is that I leave things better than I found them, or that I make things easy for my loved ones who will clean up, whatever it is. And so to me, that's like this awareness of what does need to be completed. Yeah, what do I care about? So that's I think for me, a really nice thing about I think it's getting older, maybe it's getting wiser. Maybe I could have done this when I was a lot younger. But there's been so many things that, like, I kind of bought into the grind, the rabbit wheel, whatever you call it, hamster wheel of life. Like, I got to do more. I got to have more. There's these things I want to do that I think I should do. And then getting to a point of like, yeah, I've done all that. And then realizing, well, it wasn't what I expected. And, to the point of like, yeah, I've traveled and there's no place else that I really need to go. That's a beautiful feeling. But I could create that if I wanted to, but there's not a push of like, I really need to do that. So again, I don't know if that's age or wisdom, but
so the most important thing that I didn't mention, and because it's not really in the physical, is completing my karma here and going home where I really belong, because I'm just a visitor here. And that's the big thing for me. That's it. And serving as I go, serving the Lord. Thank you.
Yeah, beautiful. Light to all of our completion here. Anybody else? I'm curious, Nancy, if you'd be willing to share. Nancy lives in assisted living, so there's some older people there. And I'm wondering, and you've got a wonderful ministry of really listening to people's stories. And I'm wondering what your experience is of when people are, getting older. Do they share things like regrets, or they want to do things that they can't do, or what's your experience with that?
Well, I've had a lot of years of listening to people. You're right about that. And where I live now is fertile ground for encouraging people to tell me about their life and what they regret, or what's unfinished, and what they've finished that makes them happy, and that kind of thing. So I yes, there are several people there. I can only, my own energy level lets me manage those conversations one person at a time. It's rare that I have two people telling me their story, although lately I've had there's a woman I've made into a friend who is 92 and her husband is 99, and you can tell they've had a wonderful life together because they play little tricks on each other and they laugh and get a gleam in their eye. They're just adorable people. And she talks kind of nonstop, and a lot of people, it looks like, kind of avoid her when it comes time to finding a seat in the dining room and that kind of thing. And I sit down with her because she has a lot of stories to tell and a lot to savor in a life well lived. And I'm happy to give her, to the extent that I can, give her that opportunity. There's another person whom I met. I've been there to about 2.5 years. And so when I first got there, I met a woman who told me she's an author and a playwright. And the summer of the year that I moved in, they did a reading performance of one of her plays, which I was happy to support her in. And that was during the COVID days, so there wasn't a huge audience. Um, but she is somebody who I have found, when she has the opportunity, she'll take an experience, savor it, and then put it in a dark place. So it's like, but they're dead, or but that experience, I'll never have that experience again. Or she has trouble walking, and the possibility of a couple of diagnoses that are unpleasant. Um, and she kind of perseverates on those diagnoses and how life isn't what it used to be when she was 21 or whatever age she thinks about. And she's lived in another country for a long time and so forth. I won't go into more than that, but it's very interesting to try to help her stop the drop into the darkness and kind of come to a screeching halt, eek, and then begin to search for what she could say that's positive and what she can remind herself and be joyful about, even though that whatever she's joyful about may not be possible for her at this point in her life. Uh, I I don't, nothing else occurs to me to say unless I go into long stories, so I won't do that. It,
Yeah, it is. Yeah, go ahead.
well, I was going to say, if I hope the people on this call tune in to Jeffrey Morgan's one of his calls, because I've studied in MSIA for a very long time, and I realize I never really fully took in the piece about karma. I mean, it was a concept rather than something tangible. And since I've been experiencing his teachings, which just come from his experience, he keeps affirming over and over and over that everything that occurs to us, or everything that happens in our life, is our karma, and is purposeful. Isn't that cool? Um, and how do we convey that through our own lives, and live it through our own lives, and then also transfer that thought or that possibility to other people who don't have the training we have? So that's given me a great deal to be grateful for, actually, because once I start remembering and buying into the concept that karma is everything that happens to us and it's all has a purpose, life gets easy. because what's going to be next is the question. And we can talk ourselves into, well, as JR kept saying to us, God doesn't give us anything that we can't handle. So anyway, those are some thoughts.
Thanks, Nancy.
Thank you.
Sure.
That's probably something we have in common on this call is we're wanting our karma to be completed. This lifetime would be great, right? And then part of that may be known or unknown, so we just do the best we can. Try to be aware of aware of what we're creating or sensing. You're like, oh, that needs to be complete. I could clean that up. Or what can I let go? Kind of be grateful for. One of the things that's interesting, I think, as we get older, sometimes that if we're not able to do the things we used to do. For example, if someone isn't as physically able to move around and travel like they used to, and they always had a dream of doing a trip. Or actually, the person I'm thinking about has even harder time just moving around her house now, right? She's like really limited in the mobility and a combination of health concerns. And she's still in this space of she's adjusting to her new level of ability and kind of getting frustrated, like, well, I really want to do that, but I can't anymore. And she was so used to doing things. I'm going to go do this for this person. I'm going to go do this and do that, keeping herself busy. So, so it's this opportunity of accepting a new reality, and then going, okay, how am I going to be or do in my new ability zone? So if that that person had a service minded, she'd be going to church and serving this group or that group, and now she really can't get out as much anymore, but there's still ways that she can serve. So sometimes we have to adjust what the completion of our desire or our expansion list or bucket list or completion list, or what's important to us, as we get older, or maybe we bring someone else on the trip to make it happen, or we go out. Like one person I knew, like they used to like to go on cruises, and so they'd fly somewhere and then go on a cruise, and they weren't able to fly as much anymore. So then they just found the port that was closest to their house, and just whatever cruise goes out of that port, they go on. And they used to take cruises and then they'd take excursions off the cruises, but now they just go on the cruise and pretty much stay in their room. They get a balcony room, and that's how they do it. So they manage. So as we, as there's ways we can complete things or do things that we want, but it may look a little different. And sometimes that's uncomfortable. So then it's how's our attitude, the way we approach it, right? And then also sometimes asking for assistance or help with those things. Like this guy that went on the trip to the Grand Canyon, earlier in his life, it might have been like he just saw himself going to the Grand Canyon, or maybe he and his wife, he had this beautiful romantic image. Me and my wife are going to the Grand Canyon. Well, now they can't just go by themselves, and he's got to bring oxygen along. That might not have been on his bucket list, but sometimes our vision has to change according to our new abilities, right?
As we learn in MSIA, acceptance is the first law of spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the key for people who are bemoan their fate, it seems to me. It's like, well, and I can't judge where they're at because a lot of people have very sad stories in their lives, but we could try, we can help maybe sometimes.
Susan.
I've been this whole thing about moving. Been wanting to move to downtown Langley into an adult housing authority thing, and I've been waiting. I was told that I'd be ready last summer, that it would be ready, and it hasn't, and it hasn't, and I keep thinking, when is it going to happen? When is it going to happen? And feeling grouchy about where I am. Something has shifted in me in the last couple of weeks of just like, I'm so okay and open with anything and everything. And it's just like, okay, it'll happen when it happens, just like you were saying, Nancy. And then all of a sudden, oh, I'm really falling in love with where I am right now. And just finding new ways to be in my space. And it's just been, so yes, everything is there for a purpose. I needed to fall in love with this place before I can move on to the next thing. And that'll happen when I carry on.
Are you in Virginia?
No,
Langley, Virginia?
No, Langley, Washington.
Washington. Okay.
It would be Island, off the coast of Seattle.
The island. Oh, that's awesome.
Great. And I want to say hi to Julie. I haven't seen her in ages. Hi, Julie. Bye-bye.
Oh, nice. I find this call is a great meeting place for some of us that have been around MSIA and Heartfelt for a long time and haven't had an opportunity to get together in person. So it's beautiful. Even to hear Sarah's name earlier is wonderful.
And what a treat to see Susan Gerke.
Yes. Susan.
It's been many a long age since we said hello in person.
Yeah, for me, I just love seeing the glow in your eyes. You know, each of you bring so much light and loving. So it's nice to, we've been around together for many years. It's been, I think probably like 40 years for me around town, seeing some of you at conference or workshops and things. We've got a couple more minutes if anybody wants to share.
I just thought of something. So my mother's grandparents had a farm in northern Minnesota. She would go there every summer to spend the summer with her grandparents. And I think I was probably about 18 or 19. Our whole extended family took a trip there. We spent 2 weeks in this very rural part of northern Minnesota. And as a teenager, I don't remember it being my favorite trip. And it was a very long trip with my extended family. Anyway, my mom just turned 80 and she has been talking to our daughter about wanting to take her to see this place. And so Cheryl was asking me, do I want to take this trip? And I'm like, I don't really want to take this trip, but I want to do it because it seems like it's very important to my mother. And that for her, it would be a completion to show Mackenzie where she spent her summers as a young person and tell her all these stories. And so, in a way, it feels like a part of my ministry to be willing to go, because I think the trip will go better if I'm there to help orchestrate how that all goes. And And, you know, I would love for Mackenzie to hear the stories straight from her, because these are stories I may know some of, but I may not. And so to assist somebody else in completing something that's important to them is also a fun way to use my ministry. So that's it.
Thank you. Okay. Do you want to share? Have your hand up or no?
I just wanted to place a blessing for all of us on our completions, on our expansions, and know that opportunity is always present and that we are so loved and we never walk alone on this path going home to God. So may you enjoy all of your bucket list completions. Every step of the way is blessed. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Beautiful.
Kay.
Gregory. You're on mute. You want to can you take your mic off mute, Greg?
There we go.
There we
I
go.
just wanted to introduce my cat, who Mischief is behind me sitting on there. She decided to join me
That's great.
this meeting and probably fell asleep back there, so which she does often. And also, what came to me that I finally realized I want to share about it when you asked about, you know, what you like in your bucket, and what I was thinking was bucket. I think I have a bucket problem rather than what to put into it. And then I flashed back into what came from my Insight 2 seminar, where you create a kind of a saying for yourself. And mine was, I dance in the joy of my own true love, and my gift is my dance to you. And I always didn't know what you meant. And it's become a little bit like what Susan Gerke, which I've been one of her husbands in as her path in life. And it's that part that's a one at oneness inside myself, and it's this world is my bucket. I just want to become more loving in it. That's it for now. I think I can, only words I can find.
Thank you. And it's nice to meet your cat.
She's usually much more vocal than I am anyway.
Well, I think I'll just end with putting exclamation mark on what Nancy was saying about, we have a choice of putting our list or completions, desires, whatever it is, in a place of lightness or a place of darkness, right? I didn't do that, or I did that, or being grateful for what we have, so that a similar or the same situation can be held inside of our hearts in different ways. And it seems like that if we hold it in a place of gratitude and lightness, then that would be less karma than holding it in a place of regret or darkness, which seems like that would be more karma. So I send light to all of your hopes and dreams, just as Kay, and let's close this. Is it a meeting? Is it a talk? It's just a time together. And thank you so much for being here. Hope to see you again. And God bless you all. Love you.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Cheryl.
Thank you all.
Hi, everybody.